The NCAA Division I Women's Golf Championship is an annual tournament held in April for teams and individuals at the collegiate level of golf. This event has become a mainstay in women's golf since its addition to the NCAA Championship program in the 1981-82 school year. For the 2024 edition of the tournament, Stanford came out on top, leapfrogging UCLA to the title. It's the Cardinals' second title in the last 3 years and their third overall since they first lifted the trophy nearly a decade ago in 2015. The team championship finals were held at the Omni La Costa Resort and Spa in Carlsbad, California on May 22nd, with the University of Texas, Austin playing host. For the individual side of the event, Adela Cernosik of Texas A&M won the individual titles, becoming the first golfer from the school to bag an individual championship. But before all that, let's find out how it really went down. Going into the regionals. Regionals for the 2024 NCAA D1 Women's Golf Championships ended on May 8th with 30 qualifying teams and 6 individuals, neither of whom were affiliated with the eligible teams. After 3 rounds of play and 6 regional events, all 36 competitors qualified for the event at Omni La Costa Resort and Spa's North Course in Carlsbad, California. Defending champions in the team section, Wake Forest finished the Bermuda Run Regional in 3rd place, coming in behind Ole Miss, which made history for its first regional victory ever. Rachel Heck of Stanford also put the Clay Elam Regional to bed, returning for her first victory in over 2 years. The cut. All 30 teams and 6 individuals can't head into the finals of the NCAA Women's Golf Championship, so came the battle for the cut. After 54 holes of stroke play, the teams whittled down to 15 after the cut on Sunday evening. Texas A&M maintained a strong position by holding on to the lead, topping event favorites and the higher-ranked Stanford as teams headed into the finals. LSU is the only team to come in under par after the 54 holes, with the Tigers sitting at 1 under. On the individual side, Adela Cernosik, a Texas A&M junior, appeared to be running away with the title as she held on to a 6-shot lead going into the finals. She came in at 12 under, ahead of Arkansas freshman Maria Jose Marin. The Sunday afternoon wave featured some heroics during the final round of stroke play, as one team did just about enough to enter the final round on Monday. However, come Monday, the top 8 teams will decide Tuesday's match play after the final round of stroke play. The qualifying teams. That said, here are all 15 teams that qualified for the final round and how they performed by the end of the tournament. LSU, 1 under. It goes without saying that LSU's record at the NCAAs has been anything but underwhelming. There was hope that the Tigers might find a way into match play and go all the way. However, their star player Ingrid Lindblad looked to be struggling the bulk of the time. This is a rather unexpected turn of events given that Lindblad bagged the 2024 Annika Award, won the 2024 Augusta National Women's Amateur, and currently sits at number 1 in GolfWeekAmateurGolf.com women's rankings. Also, her recent performances in the NCAA Women's South Regional, which she won, and her insane 15 career collegiate wins made her a must-watch. However, they only made it to the quarterfinals and lost 3-2 to Oregon. Texas A&M, 10 under. The Aggies have a well-documented record of dominating the NCAAs. Last year, the team made it to the semifinals, and this year, they looked the part, too. All of that boils down to the brilliant play of Adela Cernosik, the individual leader at 12 under after 54 holes, who has had an incredible 2024 so far. She's earned multiple accolades so far, including winning the NCAA Division I Women's Championships, earning a solo second place at the 2023 Stevens Cup, bagging T8 at the 2023 European Ladies Amateur, finishing T6 at the SEC Women's Championships, and a T3 finish at the NCAA Women's South Regional. Unfortunately, Texas A&M fell short of their previous attempt, losing out in the quarterfinals to UCLA 3-0. UCLA, 10 over. UCLA has been one of the better and most consistent teams in 2024 season. The Bruins managed a strong 3-day streak heading into the NCAA championship, but it would take more than just their must-watch talent Zoe Campos to make it to the finals. After strong showings in the quarterfinals and semifinals, where the Bruins beat Texas A&M and Oregon respectively, they fell short in the finals to a determined Stanford. Oregon 12 over. Oregon has a decent track record in the NCAAs. In fact, it was only 2 years ago, in 2022, that they finished as runner-up to Stanford, although they did have a disappointing 2023, missing out on the 15-team cut. Anywho, the Ducks came in guns blazing in 2024 thanks to freshman Kiara Romero, who has bagged an exemption to Lancaster after winning the girls' junior. Not to mention that she finished top 10 3 times in the postseason of her 2023 U.S. Girls Junior Championship title. With 3 strong rounds and an eye on match play, Oregon seemed like the dark horse of the tournament. They walked the walk through the quarterfinals, thumping LSU. However, UCLA proved to be too much for them in the semis, but Oregon can be proud of their return to form this year. Auburn 12 over. Auburn has been on fire in the 2024 season and is one of the best this year, not to mention the likes of Casey Weidenfeld, Megan Schofield, and Anna Davis in their books, which give the Tigers a dangerous trio if they get into match play. Schofield is the most interesting character of the lot. She won the 2023 U.S. Women's Amateur, defeating fellow prodigy Latana Stone in the process. In 2024, she earned a spot in the U.S. Women's Open, and just before the NCAAs, she finished tied for second place at the NCAA Women's Southeast Regional. However, all that talent only got them into the Final 8, as Auburn bowed out of the quarterfinals after losing 3-0 to Stanford. Duke 19 under. The Blue Devils aren't noobs when it comes to the NCAA championship. In fact, they have one of the best records in the tournament. After the 15-team cut was published, Duke was safely in the bunch. With Katie Lee on their roster, the New Jersey native led Duke to its second lowest score in team history, but wound up winning the Florida State matchup nonetheless. In the 2023 U.S. Women's Amateur, she qualified for the match play portion. In the same year, she also qualified for the round of 32 in the 2023 U.S. Girls Junior and North and South Women's Amateur. And in the Sea Island Women's Amateur, she finished tied for 6th place. Lee might have a decent track record in the events, but there are better players, and Duke seems to be losing its touch, as neither qualified for the 8-team match play for the finals. Florida State 25 over. Florida State comes into the NCAAs as a promising contender thanks to Lottie Wode. They finished tied for 11th place in the final 15 list, but never quite made it to match play on Monday afternoon. It just wasn't their year. Wode played good golf, though, sinking a birdie on the par 5 18th to help the Seminoles leapfrog Arizona State by a shot. Thus, Florida State became the only team competing in the afternoon wave to earn a Monday tee time. Outside of the recently concluded NCAAs, Wode has been on the prodigious path, lifting the title at the 2024 Augusta National Women's Amateur after sinking 2 birdies on the final 3 holes. This season alone, she's finished in the top 10 8 times, including a second-place finish at the NCAA Women's Championships. Arkansas 13 over. Despite qualifying for the 15-team cut, Arkansas had a horrible showing on Sunday, shooting 11 over and dropping down a spot on the leaderboard. A loss they couldn't afford as things got even more competitive going into Monday. Although the Razorbacks looked to be several shots away from cementing a great position on Monday, they never made it to the 8-team match play. Mississippi State 21 over. Mississippi State finished in 15th place after the cut, just about edging over the disqualification line. The SEC champions were hardly a dominant force in the tournament, and they had to hope that teams would drop points in the afternoon wave to secure a spot for match play. Even if that had happened, the Bulldogs could not afford to slip up to go all the way. But that didn't happen, and they didn't make it to the final 8 teams battling for the trophy. Texas 23 over. Texas has also had to be patient while its counterparts, Texas A&M, have mostly flourished. Despite making it to Monday, the Longhorns fought an uphill battle to qualify for match play, but ultimately lost and never made it to the quarterfinals. Northwestern 9 over. After the top 15 teams were announced, Northwestern was tied for 11th with Texas and Florida State. By Sunday morning, they had moved up 3 spots and started to look promising. However, they failed to capitalize on their strong showing on Monday and failed to make it to match play. Stanford, 9 under. Stanford has gone through the stroke play segment of NCAAs like a hot knife through butter in the last 3 years, so it comes as no surprise that the Cardinal made it to the top of the leaderboard of the final 15 teams. With Paula Martin-San Pedro leading the charge at 4 under, Stanford continued to strong-arm every opponent, qualifying for match play before convincing victories over Auburn and USC in the quarterfinals and semis. Upon reaching the final, they faced UCLA in a tightly contested match, but just about edged out the Bruins 3-2 to lift the much-coveted trophy. Clemson, 2 over. Clemson played a good game in the tournament, reaching the top of the leaderboards after the first round, with 5 shots over going into Monday. Although their performance after Sunday gave them a solid stance for Monday, they needed to keep up the good work to reach the final 8. The Tigers did just that, reaching the quarterfinals but falling short to a 3-1 defeat to USC. Wake Forest, 20 over. Wake Forest came into the 2024 NCAAs as the defending champions, and much was expected of them. However, they spent quite some time below the cut line before eventually qualifying for Monday. But to reach the final 8, they had to be perfect. There's no perfection in golf, so they never made it to the quarterfinals, missing out by 2 shots just below Auburn. There was no title defense for the 2023 champions. USC, 14 over. USC was one of the more ruthless teams in the competition. Despite dangling outside the cut line on Sunday, the Trojans rallied to push into the final 8 and enter the quarterfinals. Finishing runners-up in 2023 meant there were a lot of expectations on their shoulders to double down. The Trojans did just that, using the quarterfinals at Clemson's expense, but failing to beat Stanford in the semis. What do you think about the NCAA results? Let us know in the comments. As always, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.